In the last installment of Transitioning in West Virginia, we talked about how 2/3 of transgender people don't have an updated name or gender on their ID documents.
Everyone, including transgender people, need access to updated identification to go about daily life. A driver's license or an ID that has an incorrect gender outs a transgender person every time any situation they need to use that license.
According to a study by the National Center for Trans Equality, about a third of respondents who did not have updated documents were verbally harassed, asked to leave, denied service, or assaulted when they presented their ID. And ID documents are required anytime a person does everyday things like opening a bank account, applying for housing, driving, and voting.
I'm a big voter advocacy person. I always vote every election day. It doesn't matter how big or small the election is. So I went to my polling location for the last election. So I handed the lady my ID and she asked me to spell my name. And I spelled it for her. And she looked at me. She looked me up and down and up and down. And she makes me spell my name again. And I'm like, it's spelled the same way it is on my ID. She looks at it. Well, I don't have my glasses on. Okay, I'm going to spell it again for you. So I spelled it for her. And she gave me the look again. Up and down and up and down. And the tension was so thick in the room at that point. And she read off my legal first name very, very loudly. And I said, yes. And then she said, well, you don't look like a, and yelled out my legal first name again, very loudly. And I said, it's because I'm trans. And it shut her up. But by then, I was just so flustered, I got my stuff.
Hartzlove called Monongalia County Clerk Carrie Blaney after the incident.
And she was absolutely appalled at what happened. And I told her my story, and she apologized profusely and explained that, there are diversity trainings for poll workers. But unfortunately, and it's the way it is, she can't be there with every poll worker all day long, every time. So whenever something like that happens, it's important to report it so that they can get a handle on it.
West Virginia has the highest per capita rate of transgender teens in the nation, and Hartzlove fears that situations like these would discourage a demographic from voting, which already has a low voter turnout.
Someone else in that situation might have been afraid to vote that day. Or they might have gone through it and never voted again. And how many of their friends are they going to tell about the experience?
Another situation where an updated ID would help protect transgender individuals is in the workplace. According to a study, 30% of transgender respondents who had a job reported being fired, denied a promotion, or experiencing some other form of mistreatment in the workplace because of their gender identity or expression. Hartzlove said she experienced this a while back when she was working as a waitress.
During that time, I started my transition. And I talked to them and went full-time as female, which was, I was living my life as a female then. So I was presenting that way at work as well. And when people outside of our store found out on a corporate level, they came in and fired me. Because I no longer fit their family image. I'd never been in trouble at work. I was always there, always on time. Always did my job, got rave reviews from customers. Customers loved me. But because of one little thing like that, I lost my job. They did say that once I completed GRS, which is, bottom surgery, that I would be welcome to reapply. Obviously, I've not set foot in an Eaton Park, and I'll never reapply. But that's just the way things were. That was 2005. I think we've came a long way since then, but we still have a long way to go. I have passing privilege. I can walk down the street and no one knows I'm trans. So overall, my experience has been one that's been very blessed, but not everybody gets that experience. And that doesn't make anyone less valid. It makes it a lot rougher for them.
According to the Name and Gender Change Guide, name change petitions can cost upwards of $200 and varies by county. Other associated costs of changing a name can balloon that cost to over $500. Cost can be one barrier to name change access.
It simply requires a filing of a petition with the court, the circuit court in any county, and you make certain representations as to why you're doing it and so forth. It has to be published in the paper in case somebody wants to object to it for some reason, and then you schedule a hearing with the court, and so those are routinely done, and it's very easily done because it is by statute. So I can't even think of a reason. I've never seen an instance where a name change was denied or declined.
According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, deadnaming is the name that a transgender person was given at birth and no longer uses upon transitioning. For many transgender people, using a person's dead name is considered offensive.
It's a lot of feelings. It's embarrassment because that's not who you are. It's like a slap in the face. It's like jerking you back to all those feelings you had pre-transition of just the inner turmoil and those feelings. And it doesn't get better anytime. I've been transitioning 14 years and I still get the feeling now when someone dead names me that I got 14 years ago. It just has this power to take you back to the worst parts of yourself and the worst days that you had as that former self.
So while there are many practical reasons for legally changing a name, James Barber says it's also just a way for their identity documents to reflect who they are.
These are people, just like you and I. These are people who just want to be and want the world to see them as who they are. This isn't a choice that somebody's making years into their life. I've been male and I now want to be female. These people have known from day one who they are and what they are, and they simply want to live their lives as who they are.